of Colors Games, and I have something I need to say. I want to say why I call the person running the game director. Most people call it game master, storyteller, dungeon master, referee. Game director is not that different from game master. In fact, game master is more like maestro, which is the official term for a musical conductor. Game master, that's pretty cool too. So you can call it that. But I don't have a problem when people say game master, but I have reason to use game director because I think direction is important. Looking at similar roles, you have an opera regisseur, which is like a trustee. In French, the word for film director is metteur en scene. Probably said it wrong, which is like implementer in the scene. We already talked about maestro in music. There is director in the economic and political sense. All these etymologies are related, but I think director is the most important one because a game needs direction. Now, it should be said first that you have to give direction to what is going on if you're running the game. It's unavoidable. An example, a player in a scene describes the actions of their character, and they go on and on and on. And at some point, the person running the game has to stop them, give other people a chance to play. Well, that is a sort of direction. When and how should you do it? We'll get to that soon. Another example is, let's say the characters split up. This might happen regularly or not, and you could have it that one character who has nothing important going on can hog up 60% of the time and nothing happens. You could have a character who has something really important going on and they only got like 20% of the time. Let's assume there's three people for the game. It doesn't work. You have to decide what's important and what isn't. If not, the game is just gonna disintegrate. Uh, if we look at how direction is given in other mediums, we can know there is someone in the role, there is an activity, there are people under them that are expected to listen to them. These people have ways of applying their effort and resources. There is some standard that the director uses to focus these efforts, and there is some goal everybody strives to. These can be particular relationships. This can be any particular relationship, I mean. You can slot things in it. For example, algebra. The details of the concept are omitted and represented as open-ended placeholder, but the relationship is fundamentally similar. So you can have a movie director who needs to make a movie. There are people working under him, actors, film, what do you call it, production assistants, cinematographers, special effects, you name it. And these people have ways of doing their job, and there is some standard the director uses to put his vision of the script, which is the source material, to effect. And in economic sense, the director has a bunch of people working under him. They won't need to do something. They have limited resources. They have their efforts they can put, which is a resource, it's human resources, and they need to put it need to use that for a particular standard, which is to profit or to achieve the goal of the organization. In tabletop role playing, or what I call narrative games, the person running the game is the director. The activity is narrating a tale while playing. The people under them are the players. They can apply their efforts on countless things in the scene. And now, what is the standard? Well, we already know there has to be some standard because you have to make some choices. That being said, how do we choose direction? As an aside, I want to say there's a problem in the hobby where people subsume the particular aspects with the exact way they are in another medium. So, for example, because a game is like a story and like a movie, the guy running the game is gonna make people act in a certain scripted way, or is gonna try and lead things to that subtly. That this is what we call a railroad, and it's enforcing authorship, and it just doesn't work. In algebra, it would be like if you have the equation 2x is y and 2 times 4 is 8. Well, they subsume x is 4, even though in this case y is 15,869. There are people who see this sort of behavior, realize it's wrong, um, but then deny any relationship to seminal roles. Clearly, both, well, fail to abstract. Now, what does game direction depend on? Well, game direction depends on the theme you want to put in the plot. I want to clarify that by plot, I don't mean a predetermined series of events created by the author. I didn't fail at algebra. By plot, I just mean the logical sequence of events leading to a climax. 5 random encounters rolled on a list ending with nothing meaningful is a failure in place of a plot. By theme, I mean the thing you have to say about it, what gives the story meaning and makes it different from one damn thing after the other. For example, the plot to Seven Samurai is the same as Magnificent Seven. What sets it apart, other than the location, which is not that relevant here, is what the creator has to say about it. Can you have a truly themeless game? Something truly naturalistic, a real true slice of life? No. You will need to cut, you will need to choose what you describe, you cannot grasp describe is like the example above. You cannot grasp your team and be meandering all over the place. And remember, if the conflict does not have a climax, which by the nature of the thing set up has to lead to it, so just like railroading stuff to happen by author fiat or game master fiat doesn't count. It doesn't make a climax. It just makes people angry. Then if it doesn't have that, then what happens amounts to nothing. That's just random events. I have one game about a course that turns people mute. That alone is interesting, but it's pretty standard. When I set up that game, which is all scenario design is, just setting up a game and run it, I have a clear team in mind. It's one that really fits the course. Think about it. Think about it. Censorship. That's what the game's about. Now, you wouldn't think about it if you start playing. By the end of it, yeah, it's gonna be clear. And I don't spell it out to people. It's just how things are. Censorship's effects on society, the cost it has on an individual, all of those things come up naturally by what I have to say about this funny course. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't know what to put in or what to expect, except, hey, this looks cool. Now, I did not know when the first time I ran this game that this is what I had to say, but it became something evident, and there was something I just needed to say, and I've had to find out what it is, and I did. And it was amazing for me and the players. So, you need to be aware of your team and make sure to implement it. If you don't know what it is, you can find it. And once you have it, or you sense it, it's going to guide all your directions in setting up the game and running it, saying, oh, this is important, I'm going to focus on this, or yeah, this is not really important, I'm going to minimize it if it has to be there, and if it doesn't have to be there, I'm just going to ignore it. The only way to do this is to direct the narrative, the thing being narrated. Do not add things to the situation that should not be there. Don't force decisions that make zero sense. If it's not something that needs to happen through the setup and the nature of the things involved, you won't create it out of nowhere by reloading the players. Don't. It's not gonna help. Don't focus. Don't do that. This makes people angry. Focus instead on expressing what matters by knowing the nature of the media you're interacting with. Now, this is easier said than done. But there is no shortcuts for grasping how narration, immersion and characterization, handling rules, logical sequence of events, setup, details work. But we'll get to that, and the thing to focus about that is it's about expression. So see you in the next video when we talk about that.